5, 6, 7, 700. That's right. Welcome back, everybody. Today is the day. Today is episode 700 of the two Dum Yinzers. I'd like to say to everybody this morning, welcome back. Today on the show for Big 700, we got Finch in the house. What's going on this morning, Finch?
Good morning. 700. Congratulations, guys. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Really I don't think I've done 700 of anything in my entire life other than maybe eat food
Same
of
here.
some sort. Yeah, 700 cookies maybe.
And in the other box, the big dummy and Mike sitting in front of him.
Yes.
Or behind him. I don't know whatever way you want to look at it.
Either way.
Mike, episode 700. Congratulations, my friend. How you doing today?
Thank you, sir. I'm doing great, man. Congratulations to you as well. My God, who would have thought, man, we'd make it this far? All the ups and all the downs. A lot more peaks than valleys. So hell yeah, man, we fucking made it, bro.
Especially considering after episode 11, we thought the show was done.
I know, right?
There was mad drama here at the studio, and it was way back at the very beginning. I couldn't believe it, but we persevered. Here we are, guys. Years later.
Yes.
I believe this will be 4 years once we hit July this year. That's an achievement as well. So I guess we do have some more big milestones coming up. Mike will hit the 4 years this year, and then next year I'm sure we'll be up to 1,000 episodes and hitting the 5-year mark. So a lot of good stuff still to come here on the two Dum Yinzers. Welcome back, everybody. Today it is our Friday installment. Again, this is episode 700. So we're going to try to have a little bit of fun today. Guys, I see Mike got the dummy, which really makes things interesting because I call him the dummy all the time. But Mike, I do notice you have the Pittsburgh Penguin jersey on. So you know what? I guess we're going to start there. The Penguins, they got a chance back at the Philadelphia Flyers last night after taking a big loss just 2 nights ago. Flyers in town for this one. Penguins down 3-0. They come back. Malkin scores a goal late in the game, and then again in overtime. On top of Erik Karlsson's 2 goals, that gives the Penguins a big win, Mike, 5-4 in overtime. The team is not dead. They have somewhat of a pulse left. They're 24, 28-9. Even if you're not thinking playoffs, you got to be happy with a win against Philadelphia and not getting swept by them on a home-and-home.
Yeah, that was the big thing right there. You know, I want this team to finish low as possible so we can get a better draft pick. But like you said, you don't want to lose the back-to-back against the Flyers. And I like the resiliency that this team showed. You know, they're like down big early. Ned, you know, I loved how Ned freaked out when he got pulled, breaking shit everywhere. And that woke the team up. They needed that. It's shades of like in the cup run when Phil Kessel was beating the fuck out of his stick at the end of the bench because he was pissed by the way he was playing and wouldn't listen to any of the coaches. And that kind of fired the team up. You need that in hockey every once in a while. You need that guy on the bench breaking shit to snap the boys out of it. And that's exactly what happened. And, you know, Malkin had a vintage Malkin game. You know, he decided he was taking over. And that's the beauty of having him and Crosby on the team at any given moment. One of those two can just take over the way we've seen Lemieux and Yager do in the past. It was great to see, but let's get back to our losing ways, boys. I want a high lottery pick.
Well, they get a chance because they do play Saturday and Sunday this weekend. Guys, they play the Bruins at home tomorrow at 3:00, and then they will also host the Toronto Maple Leafs on Sunday. That game is at 1:00. But Finch, I think the most exciting part, and I mean, a lot of what Mike just said is really exciting. Malkin with the comeback, beating the Flyers. But nothing, guys, I don't think is as big as what happened last night. Because if you went to the game, you did get a Max Talbot bobblehead and T-shirt. Guys, that seems to be a really fun thing up there. Of course, Mike, was that against the Flyers, that game?
Yeah, that was a game. We were losing terribly. We were getting our ass beat. I believe it was in the playoffs, and inexplicably, one of the Flyers decided he wanted to fight Max Talbot, and that woke the stadium up, it woke the team up, and we were on the road, and the Flyer fans were going nuts, and he did the shh. Next thing you know, the Penguins came back, and I can't remember if we won the game, but I know we won the series.
I believe it was during the Cup run in 2009. I
Yep.
think it
Sounds
was the
right.
second, because we played them, and then I believe we played the Capitals in the title, conference title,
Yeah.
right? And then we went
Yeah.
on to play the Red Wings. I believe it was like game 6 or something
Yeah.
of that series, and I believe we came back and won that game, and then won the final game to
Yep.
advance. I believe
That-
that's what it was.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're correct because we had to win those 2 games.
Yeah,
to
it was a
advance.
must-win situation,
Yeah.
and it's just one of those classic moments in sports where one guy does something somewhat inconspicuous and it just turns into a thing.
Mhm.
A good comparison, maybe not quite as iconic, but Joe Namath with his guarantee was just running his mouth to a reporter,
Yeah.
and he said that, and it became one of the most iconic things to happen in NFL history.
Yeah.
So, the Max Talbot shush thing definitely has that quality to it, at least to those of us in Pittsburgh who were fortunate enough to see it live.
Yeah.
Finch, I mean, speaking of that, being fortunate enough to see it live, I don't even know if you know this, but you and I were together when they lost the Stanley Cup against the Red Wings, when the Detroit Red Wings won that 4th game of the series. I think you were really in an early stage with your wife, and we were down in Bridgewater, I think, maybe at Kelly's or one of those bars watching bands.
Yeah.
And you and I were at the same building that night when they lost. I don't remember if you had left or I had left already, but I do know that was the day that we did lose that Stanley Cup in that particular year. But I don't know if you remember because you had other things going on. You were new in a relationship. You had a lot of things going on.
Yeah,
But,
I remember. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, yeah. But it's just odd because I sometimes forget about things, and I forgot about that until just now when you mentioned the game itself, and I thought, wow, you know what? I seen that with Finch.
Yeah.
But you know what, guys? But good for them. The Penguins again back at it tomorrow and Saturday. If you love watching the Penguins and you love going down to PPG Arena, they'll both be at home. Again, the Bruins tomorrow, 3:00, and again the Maple Leafs on Sunday at 1:00. Guys, let's get into the football here. A lot of things to talk about. Let me do NFL before I get into the Steelers. I got a couple things that I find pretty funny here that's been going on. All right, so you know how they did the report card a couple days ago in the NFL. The Pittsburgh Steelers didn't do very well. But get this. Of all the things they had to complain about the Steelers, this one here I think has got to be the funniest of them all. The New England Patriots, when they were complaining and doing their report card, the New England Patriots says their team airplane still has ashtrays in the armrests.
Wow.
The New England Patriots football team's airplanes still have ashtrays in the armrest was one of the complaints that came up on New England. So, I mean, if you think we're back behind in years, when did they even have ashtrays in armchairs of cars? That was the 80s, right?
Yeah. Late 90s, early 2000s, maybe. So it's at least 20 some years. So yeah, that plane is the plane from Major League, man. You got the guy out there putting the tape on the propeller. Right. They're reading the Moby Dick little comic books. Yeah, that's the New England Patriots travel.
Also around the league, guys, more funny news in my opinion only. Justin Tucker's wife is denying the allegations of an inappropriate behavior by 16 different massage therapists. She says, guys, I quote, I believe my husband.
Stand by your man.
How many years until in the prenup does it kick into where she gets half the money?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I would be.
Yeah, she might be a year or two away.
If I was her and my money was on the line, I'm like, yes. And then the minute that day hit, I'm filing my papers. And then, yes, this guy's a creep. He's a pervert. I hope he burns in hell and take my money and run.
She's going to kick him 57 yards to the curb.
She believes her husband. So these 16 massage therapists, that's what gets me. I mean, do you not leave a professional athlete because they make like mad money? I mean, imagine if you met I don't know, female athlete, Jenny Finch. Remember her, the pitcher for USA?
I remember her. Yeah.
To say that Jenny Finch and you hooked up and she was she started sleeping around. How long do you put up with it when you're dating somebody who's famous, somebody who's rich, somebody that you admire in the sports world? You know what I mean? These women, like his wife, I just don't know how do they do it. Do you stick with the guy? On the other hand, he's just a kicker. I mean, come on, you could get a kicker.
There's definitely some psychology involved here. I mean, women think and act way differently than men think and act. What we would think would be sensible might not be sensible to them, and vice versa. So I can't really say anything with any impunity. But for me personally, money talks, and booty talks as well. So if she wants to do what she wants to do, as long as she's still cool with me and she treats me right, I'll look the other way here or there if it improves my life.
All right. Good morning to Jen on the board. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Jen. Welcome to episode 700. 700 today, guys. We are talking a little bit of NFL at the moment. Let's see. Justin Tucker. The Patriots airplane has ashtrays in the armrests. Here's one, guys. I think a lot of people might. I think that this is interesting. I think this kind of plays a little bit into what we're seeing in baseball at the moment. The NFL's planning on replacing first down chains with electronic measurements. I like this, guys. You know what? I got to be honest. The more technology that you put in sports, I'm a fan. I want the call to be right. Yes, I appreciate the old head aspect of things in sports, but at the end of the day, don't you want to make sure that it's right at the end of the day? Yep. Don't you? You don't want your team getting screwed at the end of the game, and I want it to be right. I want technology to tell me I'm right. I want the little orange line. I want things. I want all that stuff in my sports. And again, the reason why, not because I'm a super tech guy, but I just think that I want it right. If there's a lot on the line, a lot of money, a lot of energy, a lot of time goes into pro sports. I think that everybody deserves that officiated correctly. Finch, what do you like these updates that's happening in pro sports with technology?
I like tech. And when tech can improve something and make something irrefutable, then yeah, it's good to have. You mentioned the batter's box in baseball yesterday, I believe it was on yesterday's show. That is something I've been into for quite a while. I love it. It's the reason that Angel Hernandez went ahead and retired, because he knew it was coming. I think it's a good idea. Now, should it completely replace the umpire or completely replace the chain gang? No. Because 99.9% of the calls are correct, right? Maybe a little less in baseball, but especially the chain gang. It's very rare that it's off in football with the chain gang. You see that one play in the Super Bowl that happened, and it makes you think, in the title game, it makes you think, the ball was spotted wrong or whatever. And that does happen, and this is why they want to introduce this sort of tech. But at the same time, it's okay to still have humans doing the job and to have the robots as a backup. Just in case there's a question, have some sort of challenge system with it to implement it. Something like that might be a good idea. So I do like it,
especially in the early stages. You put out the umpires in baseball.
You got to feel it out. You got to figure out what works the best. I mean, even the instant replay system in the NFL, it's been there now for nearly 30 years, right? 25 years or something like. I think it was like 2000 or 2001 when they introduced it. Has gone through a lot of changes over the years, but I think as a consensus, we all agree that the NFL is much better for it, right?
Yeah.
So, they make changes as things go. That's how it's supposed to work. As the tech gets better and as people learn the little intricacies of how the tech can be used or abused in some cases, things need to be updated. But it's a good thing to do. I'm glad they're doing it, and football definitely will be better for it.
Mike, and I'm going to ask you this question because I think you're going to be able to answer right along with what I'm saying. What was the biggest bust when it came to pro sports and technology? I have right on the
Jenny Finch,
right on the frontal lobe of my head. I know what it is, Mike. I just want to see if you could if you could hit this, Mike. What was the biggest bump, the biggest loss, the biggest faux pas, if you will, in pro sports with technology? You want to take a stab at least what I think it is?
Mine was the glowing puck on Fox's hockey broadcast. It was It's not hard to follow the puck once you watch hockey. I don't care if you're brand new to hockey. You watch a period of the game, you will figure out where the puck is.
They tried. I give them that.
They tried, but it became so big and so obnoxious. Excuse me. I just couldn't stand it. It made for a disgusting viewing experience for me. I didn't like it all. And to kind of piggyback on what you guys were talking about, the chain gang, still keeping the chain gang, still keeping the umpires. I like that. You keep them there, make the humans the backup. In case the technology stops working, you have the umpire there ready to go. You have the chain gang there ready to go. And isn't it funny? every time the Buffalo Bills lose in the AFC Championship game to the Kansas City Chiefs, all of a sudden the NFL's gonna bring out new rules. Oh, we're gonna change the overtime rules because Josh Allen didn't get his chance to play. Maybe the defense step up and make a play. Oh, the ball was spotted correctly, but we didn't like the narrative around it, so we're gonna change it. So Kansas City, please keep beating Buffalo in the championship game and have a quasi questionable call in there that we all agree needs to be changed and updated, so the NFL are actually doing it. We finally found a purpose for the Buffalo Bills lose in heartbreaking fashions to improve the game.
There you go. Good morning to Tim on the board. Good morning to Mark Malone on the board.
Timmy.
Thank you, Jen, on that. Let me get to some of these messages. Tim, who is one of my two favorite people that I watch every Friday night right here on the Two Dum Yinzer channel network, guys. Tim, of course, Finch's partner over on the Two Cranky Jagoffs every Friday night. We'll get into that a little bit more here as we go on because the guys may have to switch around the show this weekend. So we'll get into that a little bit more, but I do want to say welcome, Tim. Always great seeing you, my friend. He's saying this. He's saying, do it. I'm loving the ball strike challenge in baseball. That shit would have drove Angel Hernandez to commit suicide.
Yep. Tim and I have definitely had this discussion. And Angel is the name that always comes
Angel,
up.
He's the worst official in any sport I've ever seen.
Ever.
Also, Tim says, stop it. Definitely is 99% correct, especially in Kansas City.
Fuck yeah, it was 100% right, baby.
Mark Malone is saying this. He's saying that I missed the old instant replays. Tim is also okay. He says definitely not. Let's see. Over enthusiastic mod Caleb, how you doing this morning, brother? Good morning to you. He says we are riding with the robot umpires. Don't ask questions. Hang on. We have a game delay. A janitor ran to get more AAA batteries. The robot is dead.
Hopefully, Derpy will not be in charge of the batteries.
If you hear those robots banging on trash cans behind the dugout, mind your P's and Q's, okay?
That's right. Jen also says Mike's narrative on the Bills is fantastic. No sarcasm at all. None taken.
None whatsoever. None whatsoever.
But there you go, guys. It's interesting. As I said, Mike, I really agree with you. The NHL, they laid an egg with that stupid puck in the pink, and then it turned orange, and then it was blue. It was a headache, that puck.
It was a headache. I understand why they did it. They wanted to attract new viewers, but the blue circle was way too big. If it would have been shrunk considerably, just a little bit noticeable, you'd be able to see it. I like how that, like the little trail when you had the hard shot. I like that aspect, but it was just so big. It felt like it was half the screen.
The idea was really good, right? Like it's the right idea. It would be cool if they still kept that, but only showed the puck on certain camera angles. For instance, like instant replay, if it's something's close, or you want to see like how the guy caught the puck right there. It would be cool to be able to like flip that on and get a better look.
Yeah.
Because sometimes even in slow mo, it is really hard to see the puck. It's a cool idea. I liked it as a kid, and then you're right, it was kind of like overbearing to watch it. It got annoying, but
you're not focusing on what you were supposed to be focusing on while that's all happening,
which are the players and the scheme and everybody moving around. And you're right, it does kind of take your eye, but it'd be cool if you had the option to like turn it off or on during the game.
And if it was done right, and I don't know
maybe
what
if it was
that
like
means.
A streaming app that had that availability, that would be a pretty cool way to do it.
And the thing is, like, I don't know what the right answer is, but I feel that if it was done right by somebody who could figure out how to make it not so much of what it was, it could be a good idea. But it was too early. The technology and AI is doing what it's doing.
Yeah,
so
that was in the 90s. So
so who knows? We might see a better, more improved version of that moving forward. Finally, guys, in the NFL, the news around the league as of yesterday, I believe, NFL Mike officially sets the 2025 salary cap to $279.2 million. Up $24 million. Mike, how does this not only affect the NFL, but the Pittsburgh Steelers? Now, maybe you can start thinking about the franchise quarterback, maybe start paying out a little bit more money here, a little more money there. Mike, how does this, this raise, I guess you would call it, how does this affect not only the Steelers, but the league as well?
You're gonna, like you said, you're gonna see a lot of money be spent in free agency this year. Look for
big time watch.
I look for Sam Darnold's gonna he's gonna get a decent contract, but I don't think it's gonna be like jaw dropping. I'm looking for like some of the bigger free agents out there to get big big contracts that you're going to shake your head. I'm like, wow, I can't believe that kind of money is being spent out. Look for guys that have a contract coming up throughout the league to get big bumps, big raises for the Steelers. Yeah, I hate to bring this up. I don't know if you have it in your show notes. Teams are calling about Brandon Ayuk. And with the expanded cap space and him being injured, and there's talks like it can only cost like a third round pick to get the guy, and the Steelers have the draft capital, and we have the cap space to get someone like him, and then therefore you're not forced to take a wide receiver in round one if you want to address the defensive side of the ball. And or you can double dip, get Ayuk and get a wide receiver in the first round and go elsewhere. So it's going to be these teams that have a lot of cap space, like the Steelers. We're ninth in cap space. A lot of money should be, flooding the free agent market. And hopefully the Steelers do it right and actually add pieces to the team and not extend guys, because no one really needs an extension right now outside of George Pickens if you want to extend him.
I agree. Tim on the board says you have to find the franchise quarterback first. I agree. He says Fields is going to the Jets. I don't see him paying Pittsburgh paying him. I'm sorry, $10 million or more. Corey, good morning to you, sir. He says, good morning. Have you heard the reports that Russ is wanting more money than Fields, 25-30 million, and we're still considering him over Fields? That's absurd. I think they're playing the game now. I think they're playing the game. I really do. Yeah. I don't see them bringing Russell Wilson back for big money. I can't imagine. They seem like they're really, from what I'm gathering from things I'm hearing from Omar Khan and around the team right now. And even if you just go to Google and type in Steeler news, there's something up. They want to spend money, Mike. They want to make a move, a splash move. I do believe this. The front office does for sure. They want to make a bit of a difference, and I think that they, they're the front office. They're not happy along with the fans the way last season turned out. You bring in Russell Wilson, you make a couple other big moves, and on the defensive side of the ball, and you expect to do better, and you've finished with the same exact results as you did the year before, finishing 10-7, going 1 and done in the playoffs. It was identical. You couldn't have made the season any more similar. So this team, I expect them to, here in another month, when free agency starts, they are going to spend money, Mike. I do believe they will splash. At this point, I don't know what it's going to be. You just got to kind of watch day by day. What are they doing? They talking quarterbacks, they talking running backs, wide receivers, offensive line, whatever the case may be. But mark my words, this team spends money this offseason. This big pay raise, $24 million, Mike. We're going to get some new toys here in Pittsburgh, I believe, here in about a month.
And I think they're probably will extend TJ Watt, and like I said yesterday, I don't have a problem with it as long as the money is added on to, next year's contract, or, because he has 2 years left, a brand new contract, 3-year deal after that. Just don't let any of his extension money, if they do extend him, which is sounding like they will, don't let it affect this year's cap space. Use that $59 million. And, if you have to overpay to get a receiver to come here, overpay to get that receiver to come here.
I mean, that's a position that you certainly don't get upset if you overpay at it.
Exactly. Because, in the receiver market for their money, it's catching up to quarterback money. So that's a premium position. You're going to have to pay premium dollar for it. So if you want, a good veteran receiver, you're going to have to pay for it. Don't be afraid to pay for it.
And Mike, I got to tell you, you're more the money guy when it comes to this show in contracts and things like this. The quote in the report that I'm reading, this is a record amount of money the Steelers have to spend that's going to be available for them. So, I mean, this got to tell you a couple things, especially the way that they built the past couple years in the results they got. I expect them to make some splash moves. And again, we're only less than a month away from free agency, guys. So it's going to be really, really interesting. And that's going to also make the draft all that much more interesting as well. The moves you make, it affects your draft picks as well and what you're going to pick up.
It does too, yeah, because you're going to have free agency before the draft. So if you address a couple positions of needs, now you can go into the draft. You have flexibility. You're not forced to draft just a particular position group. You can move it around. Like, hey, we have someone who's highly rated fell down onto the board. It wasn't at a position of need, but hey, we can get this guy. You can go ahead and get that guy. You get the best athlete available. If you get the best athlete available at that spot. If you do free agency smart, Omar Khan too. He said there are trade candidates out there. When when being asked about positions of need of wide receiver, D-line, corner, and he's shown he's not afraid to make trades.
And I got to tell you this too, guys. I like where we're at because last year we went all the way to into the season on wondering about the Brandon Ayuk trade. Was it going to happen? Was it going to be a thing? Were we going to get a number 2 receiver? That question wasn't answered clear till halfway through the season. Guys, I like being where we're at right now. We kind of put ourselves behind the 8 ball, I think, with kind of what's the word? Being too involved with wanting Brandon Ayuk. Now it's from the gate. It's from the gate. We're going to see everybody that's available. You're going to see the Brandon Ayuks. You're going to see Debo Samuel. You're going to see everybody now, and we are playing on a fair playing field this time. So I think that we're going to get a guy that we're going to be satisfied. Hopefully, at least, right? I mean, if we end up getting something that we all hate here in Pittsburgh, that's sure going to be a bummer. But guys, I got to tell you, it certainly looks like again with the money that's available, the situation again where we're at. We're not up against the deadline, hoping a guy decides he wants to come here. I like this position that we're in again, guys. I do believe again, it's going to be nice here in about a month when we get some new toys and everyone's going to be putting new jersey numbers up on social media, and it's always fun, a lot of fun through the off season and Steelers, no doubt about it.
And real quick, like Omar Khan and Andy Weedle, they've been able to find like those hidden gems in free agency. Look at Deshaun Elliott, look at Landon Roberts, and 2 guys that were brought in. You're like, okay, these guys are going to be, let's see what they can do. And they turn out to be key pieces to that defense. Guys that, don't disappoint you. Guys that, when a play needs to be made, they're there. Look at that Dallas game. Landon Roberts flies through at the line, forces a fumble. Unfortunately, no one else was there to cover it. So I like the way they do free agency, this group, better than the last, general manager. So I'm excited, man, to see what they're going to do.
Vince, I'm going to come to you on this particular thing here. Okay, so we've been talking about this: the Pirates, the Steelers, and the Penguins have a problem. It's turning into a geriatric center, downtown in North Shore, guys. Everybody right now, the age of the defense, you got to look at Cam Hayward, you got to look at TJ Watt, you got to look at Minka, you got to go over to the Penguins, you got to look at the whole everybody on that team is all probably going to be in the Hall of Fame, but they're past their prime. Guys, let me share a number with you. I think that you're going to find interesting. Finch, I'm going to come to you with this. The Steelers, all right, they're the youngest Super Bowl winning team of all time by age of average. In 1974 was the youngest age by average Super Bowl winning team ever. The Pittsburgh Steelers that won that first Super Bowl in 1974, the average age of the guys on the team was 25 years and 304 days. That's the youngest team by average to ever win a Super Bowl. Ben Roethlisberger was either the first or the second youngest quarterback to win a Super Bowl. So the things that we see, guys, that now that are happening, we're keeping all the dinosaurs and the relics around, and we're not winning. But then you look back to the winning ways, what they have going on. The youngest team by average, the youngest quarterback to do it. Guys, is it just time we have to knock down the museum here and start bringing in young legs, no matter whether it be Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, whatever the case may be? We just aren't winning playoff games. We're not advancing. Neither of those teams, Mike and Finch, had advanced past the first round in over 8 seasons. Is it time? Do we have to clean house? Do we got to get some of these older guys out of here and bring in the youth guys? Because, like I said, if you're looking at these numbers and statistics, they all point to youth is the way to go. Finch?
Yeah, I mean, youth is the way to go, right? Although I think the statistics are a little skewed when you look back at that 1974, 1975 Steelers team. You have to keep in mind that, one, players didn't play as late into their life back then. Two, that whole entire team was drafted between the years of 69 and 75. Like, the Steelers cleaned house and then brought in a bunch of young draft picks, and they just happened to have, or the season before, whichever it was. So, I think the numbers are a little skewed with that 70 Steeler team, but however, I mean, your overall point is right. The thing you do have to think about, though, I mean, look at the Penguins right now. Name their 3 best players right now. It's all 3 players that are old. You know what I mean? Crosby and Malkin and probably Letang still. I mean, so, they are building around those guys, and those guys probably have some input.
Who's the 3 highest players on the Steelers defense? The old guys.
It's Cam Hayward, and it's probably Minka Fitzpatrick, I would imagine, right? And TJ probably isn't the oldest in that top 3, but he's getting up there as well. He's what, 30, 31?
Yeah, he's 30. Minka's 29. So,
I thought Minka was actually older than that. So,
yeah, but he's still getting up there though.
Patrick Queen as well. Isn't he a little bit older than he over
Patrick
30?
Queen's young. No, Patrick Queen's young. He came in the league when he was like 20.
Else, then.
He was like 20 or 21. Larry Ogunjobi's old as fuck.
Yeah, okay, yeah, he's definitely an older guy. So
he was involved whenever Myles Garrett was smashing Rudolph's head in with the helmet.
That's right. Yeah, that was what, 4 seasons ago, something like that. So, but yeah, it's
what? So was
youth,
Pouncey,
you need the youth.
And it sure seems like Pouncey. Doesn't it seem like Pouncey's been away a lot longer than he's been away?
Yeah, it's been
that's only been 4 years ago.
It's been about like 6 years. No. It's been because it's been at least 5 years since that Rudolph incident.
I don't know.
I can't remember.
I'm gonna have to look.
But I'm sorry, Finch. Yes, go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, you're definitely right. You need youth. It's a game of inches. All these are games of inches. So if you have the faster guy with the faster reaction time and the faster, fresher feet, you're gonna win. But there is something to be said about age and experience as well. I mean, once again, Sidney Crosby, the guy he's going to be 40 in a couple of years, and he is still playing lights out hockey right now. So it's not like you just get rid of a guy because he's old. And it's not like just because he's old that all have the skills have diminished. So you need a good balance of that. Who were the youngest teams in the NFL this year, and how did they fare?
That's a good question. I'm sure somebody can look that up if they do.
I feel like the Eagles have a pretty young team.
The Eagles got a pretty young team.
Yeah, the Steelers have, coming into the season, they have like the 11th oldest team in the league. But it's the 5th
we
oldest.
Still got guys from the 70s on this team. It feels
it's the 5th oldest defense in the league the Steelers have, but they have like the 8th youngest offense. So they're getting young on offense, but they need to get younger.
Russ Wilson is the only reason they're 8. They would be like number 3 if it wasn't.
I know, right? Yeah, but they're him and Sayamalu, or they're driving down that average. But the defense needs to get much younger.
Guys, let me get caught up on some of these messages. Getting a little buried. Corey says, I'm going to go back to when him and Tim were talking about Fields. Corey says, at Tim, okay, but it's a win. It's a win-win. Fields turns out to be a winner, or he turns out to be a flop, and we get a better first-round pick for quarterback. We can't lose there, I don't think. Mark Malone, what's up, my man? Good morning. He says, watching Fields pilot this offense again is a major loss in my book. I think that some people would definitely agree with that. Mark also says we should acquire more DBs that haven't been tainted by Tomlin's coaching. Also, let's see here. Hey, what's up, Kenny? Kenneth McNair Jr., what's up? He says, what's up, my Yinzer family? Always good to see you, my friend. Glad to see you back here this morning. Over-enthusiastic Maud Caleb says Jerry Jones doesn't wash his hands after using the restroom.
Yep.
A trusted media source told me this.
I've heard that.
Reminds me of an episode of Seinfeld.
Yes,
with, his girls. He was the chef.
He's like, I am making yours a special.
I'm making yours a special. Yep. Classic.
For sure. Caleb says the media. Okay, he did say that. Let's go here. Jen says, sound like Ryan was starting a joke. A pirate, a penguin, and a Steeler walked into the bar. Absolutely. Caleb also says the media source ran into Jerry 10 minutes after, and Jerry extended his hand. Would you have shaken Jerry's hand? I would have not. Even if I would have known or wouldn't have known, I probably wouldn't have shaken Jerry Jones's hand. Mark Malone says over-enthusiastic Maud Caleb. Jim Jones didn't wash his hands after making the Kool-Aid. That's a good point.
That's why everyone died.
Jed says geriatric bar, no less. Going back to a penguin, a Steeler, and a pirate walk into a bar. It's a geriatric bar, Jen saying. I like the way that this joke is turning out. I'm going to be honest with you. Corey says, at Mark, that's fine, but if we get Russ back, we'll win 9-10 games and not get a high enough pick to get a better QB. Fields is
mediocrity.
Our best chance to win or our best chance at our next franchise quarterback. Interesting. Polar Knights, welcome to you. He says, as a barber, I love the men's cams. It is the perfect evolution of beard growth. Mark Malone, who has the youngest massage therapists? Mike, maybe ask old Tugger over there in Baltimore, right?
Yeah, he might know. Him and Watson might have a little black book of all that.
Let's see.
Bob
Joe, what's up,
Kraft.
brother? Nice to see you this morning on this Friday morning, getting ready to head into the weekend. And then also Chuck, I believe this is one of Finch's friends. Chuck says, did you hear that Facebook is erasing all live videos after a month? So please don't forget to save your videos on a hard drive.
That is true.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, I saw that the other day. So if you did even if you did a Facebook Live video 10 years ago and it's been showing up in your memories every year, they're wiping them out. So
what is it? Finch, is it just using too much?
I would assume so. This is something that Twitch has done forever. With Twitch, anytime you do a live video, it gives you a little warning at the end saying, hey, we'll keep us for 30 days, and it gives you the option to download. So if there are videos on Facebook, and right now this video is being pushed to Facebook through my restream, if it was something you wanted to keep on your page, you want to make sure that you download it and mark it to keep. So, yeah, it's definitely a server issue. These guys... There's a lot of space that these videos take up. So
absolutely. Well,
I don't blame the companies for doing it. Yeah, thanks, Chuck.
Guys, so the Combine, if you caught it yesterday, of course, started yesterday. Today, it picks back up. I'm sorry. Today, it's defensive linemen, linebackers, and yesterday was defensive linemen, linebackers, and place kickers. I'm sorry. Today is defensive backs and tight ends. It goes from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock today. So if you want to see the DBs and tight ends coming out of college, going into the pros, Mike, I think there's definitely an interesting one coming from your school that you might be able to keep an eye on as far as tight ends go. We'll get back to him in just a second. Let's see what else we got here. Saturday, tomorrow from 1 to 9, you could watch the quarterbacks, running backs, and wide receivers at the Combine. And then they wrap it up on Sunday with the offensive linemen from 1 to 5. So the Combine all through the weekend, guys. Again, today, defensive backs and tight ends, that's going to go from 3 to 9. Tomorrow, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, 1 to 9. And then Sunday, offensive linemen, 1 to 5. I got to be honest, I get excited for the Combine every year until I sit down and watch it.
Right.
And then I just realize it's guys running 40 yards over and over and over and over and over and over. But I got to be honest, I do love it. It's football, guys. It's the NFL Combine. Mike, I'm gonna give some names of some guys that we did have interest. They plan meetings and they have formal meetings with these guys at the Combine. So I'm going to give you a few, Mike, but while I'm getting that set up, talk about the one. And I do know that they did have from Penn State, they did have a meeting with him. At least it was scheduled. Let me see here real quick. Skiller's showing interest in having a formal Combine meeting with Penn State tight end Tyler Warren. Where do you think he's going to land, Mike? And what kind of effect do you think he's going to bring to the league out of Penn State?
Ty Warren, he can go anywhere in the draft. I can see a team taking him in the top 10, and I can see him falling maybe down around maybe as low as like 18. I don't think he's going to fall down to 2021 in that range. My God, he was a do-it-all guy at Penn State. He was. Mike,
do you think he translates over to the NFL though? Because I'm watching him in college, and I'm thinking he's really good and really effective. But does that guy, that style, that speed, does he translate over into the NFL effectively?
I think he does. When you watch him run, he doesn't look like he's that fast, but then you see him, he's just pulling away from people. He knows how to get open. He's not afraid to block. He can play, your traditional tight end position at the end of the line. He can play in the slot. He can play out wide. He's very good at, route running. He's like that modern day tight end that teams are looking for, that Kelsey, that Kittle, that Brock, not as fast as Brock Bowers is.
Do you think he's going to be that caliber of player? I think that's what my ultimate question is, because I see if he does become a successful player, he is going to come off as that kind of guy, one of those tight ends that you just mentioned. Like I said, there's only so many tight end positions in the league. There's only so many that are elite. Could he break into that category, Mike?
I think he can, yeah. Because you're going to have guys starting retiring. Kelsey starting to retire when he's falling off. Kittle's getting up there in age. So he's going to be in that next wave of crop, that next crop that's going to be rising up the ranks. I think he's going to be a lights out player. I think you get him in the right system, and you move him around the offense. You create mismatches with him. He can light it up.
My theory when it comes to skill positions, I tend to lead toward the brothers. I just do. But you know who he's going to be effective for if he goes to the Eagles. He'll go to the Eagles. They'll turn him to gold. He'll be the most effective tight end in the league. Tight end. I'm sorry. It's just the way it's been playing out with these Eagles lately, Mike. I don't get it. But of course, being from Penn State, we wish him the best. Tyler Warren, you'll be able to catch him today between 3 and 9 from the workouts at the combine, of course, which goes the whole way through the weekend. Mike, we did have defensive linemen yesterday that we got to take a look. Here are some of the names because, of course, the defensive line is somewhere that the Steelers are going to be in need of players sometime really, really soon, Mike.
Yeah.
Here's some names from the defensive line position at the combine that the Steelers had formal NFL meetings with. Of course, Kenneth Grant, we talked about him from Michigan the other day. Kenneth Grant, also Derek Harmon out of Oregon.
Yep.
Alfred Collins out of Texas. Vernon Broughton from Texas. Jordan Birch from Oregon. And Shamar Turner from Texas A&M. I mean, you recognize some of these names, some of these guys, especially this guy from Michigan, Mike, this Kenneth Grant. These guys are beasts.
Yeah.
Now, my problem is this. I really think that it's going to be a huge failure, Finch, if we go out and even if you get the best possible defensive lineman in the draft at our position at number 20 in the first round, don't you feel that it's somewhat of a disappointment because we need so much on offense? I guess free agency is going to tell a lot about this and how we're going to handle it. But do you feel that with everything needed on the offensive side of the ball, Finch, we finished at the very bottom? Do you feel if they went out and got a defensive lineman that you would be upset, even if he was a game-changing defensive lineman? It's probably going to be wrecking things for quite some time. I feel that it's going to be a bit of a disappointment, but there's other people that might not feel that way.
This season, no, I would not be disappointed. And let me tell you why, because the one thing that we've been wanting the Steelers to do for a long time that they just refuse to do because we're stuck in this mediocrity loop is to build the team again. And to build the team again, you got to pick the best player that you can get. And if the best player in this year's draft is that guy, like an LT quality defensive lineman, some insane player like that, then yeah, you take him, because that is going to be something to build your future around on that side of the ball. Sure, you want the big flashy quarterback or the wide receiver, but this particular season, especially when there aren't any quarterbacks in the draft, really, I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all.
Finch. Say we do. First round, pick 20 comes around. The best possible defensive lineman is sitting right there for us to take. Okay, say we take him. Second round comes around. We get a guy almost like Calvin Austin did 2 years ago, almost like Roman Wilson did last year. Whoever it is that we pick on the offensive side of the ball, they are out for the entire season. Let's just say they get hurt in preseason the same way those other gentlemen did before them. So now you spend the number one pick on the defensive side of the ball. Number two is unavailable for the entire season. Let's just say as those other guys were. Now you're on round 3 to start building your offense. Again, we're going to be lacking. Everybody knows we still need a number 2 receiver and beyond. We still need, if Najee Harris is going to go elsewhere, we're going to need some running backs. We're going to, and the quarterbacks obviously is a big shining issue. You get to the third round. Now you're at third round talent, Finch. At this point, you start
when
to
you're
yourself,
actually drafting in the third round, that person in the second round hasn't been injured yet.
But
so,
I understand.
it's
But I'm not even through with the question. I'm talking about once we get to next season and we're there and we look back and say, okay, we got this guy on the defensive side of the ball. This cat got hurt in preseason. We're not going to see him all year. So the best guy we got was in the third round. That's what I'm asking. Is that where we're going to look back as fans and say, man, was that a dumb idea to go out and get the defensive lineman as your number 1 pick? And again, 15 things have to happen in order for that to be, Finch, and it's all speculation. But I feel that we have to go offense. I feel that we have to go offense, guys. I really do. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking for first round talent for one, which is what we need on the offensive side of the ball.
Then it's all going to depend on how, like you said, free agency. Do they make a trade for someone?
Right.
Say if they don't do that, they fail to get someone in free agency, fail to get someone through a trade. Then, the draft starts going. And, let's say the receiver from Arizona is going, Ted McLaurin, whatever. He's going He's going to go. What if a team goes wild card and takes the next best receiver, M'Baka, and then another team gets worried? Oh shit, there's going to be a run on wide receivers. They hurry up and take the number 3 receiver. Then the Steelers, and then some of these D linemen start falling down. Then the Steelers are sitting there looking at the number 1 and number 2 D linemen, or the number 2 and number 3 D linemen, and then you're looking at receivers number 4 and 5. But you look at the draft board, the 4th and 5th receivers might be ranked as like the 35th best prospect, and your defensive lineman might be ranked, the 20th best prospect in the draft. Do you base it off of need, or do you base it off the best player available, which at D-line is also a position of need? So a lot of factors are going to go into it.
Right.
Now, if you're sitting there and say, let's say like Darren Harmon's sitting there and M'Baka's sitting there, that's a coin flip for me, because you need both positions. And if we picked up a veteran receiver in free agency, let's just say they go out and pick up Chris Godwin. Okay, we got a receiver, and we got opposite George Pickens. Okay, then I'm going to invest in my D line, and then I'll get a wide receiver in round 2, because there's still some pretty good receivers in round 2. So it just all depends on how the board breaks and how free agency goes too.
Well, Mike, I was kind of going in this direction.
You need both positions.
You don't want to be sitting in October. You don't want to be in October in your season, not scoring points and saying, wow, I wish we would have drafted differently. You know what I mean? That's go ahead.
Well, what if you draft a receiver in the first round and he turns into be another Troy Edwards?
Well, that's
where
your
you get nothing out of him.
I'm explaining my speculation.
Yeah. But
again, I don't want to be in October.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in October saying, man, we need somebody in the draft, an offensive talent, because
that's why I'm saying if they address it in free agency, like the defensive side of the ball in free agency, I would advocate trading up to go and get my receiver if we don't address it in free agency or via trade.
Guys, we are going into DBs and tight ends today, again from 3 to 9 on the draft or in the combine. These are some names, Mike and Finch, that the Steelers have formal NFL combine meetings scheduled with multiple corners and safeties. Of course, we do need this as another position on the defensive side of the ball. Mike, these prospects are Jahdae Barron from Texas, cornerback. Also scheduled as Will Johnson, from Michigan.
Ooh,
Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame. Xavier Watts from Notre Dame. And Jalen Reed, a safety from Penn State, Mike. So amongst these names, is there any names that stick out? Because, again, who knows how the draft is going to go, but we are certainly in need of a cornerback.
You said Barron from Texas?
Yes.
Him or Will Johnson? You pair either of those two, that opposite of Joey Porter Jr., and you've updated that secondary immensely. You would have 2 really good young corners, back there, meaning that secondary. That would be huge. I would like either of those 2. Benjamin Morris, I'm not too familiar about, but if Barron would fall or Johnson would fall, I'd snag one of those 2 guys.
Also, a couple other names of interest, Mike. The Steelers also have a formal combine meeting with Mr. Quinn Ewers out of Texas, quarterback, and the running back out of Oklahoma State, Mike. This Ollie Gordon II, a couple skill players that I certainly seen that stood out off the page. But it's going to be interesting. And again, and I think ultimately what it comes down to, guys, is how they handle free agency next month. That's going to give you answer a lot of questions, I do believe.
Yeah, and thing is too with these meetings, the Steelers do this to plan for the future. Get these guys in, talk to them, and see, hey, are they available in a trade 2 to 3 years down the line? Did they go to free agency? Okay, we have a little bit of a relationship with them, and then they reach back out to them, see how their career's going and everything. They lay a foundation, not just for now, but for years down the line. So a lot of it is like just to get to know the player. It's like, oh, maybe we should trade up for him, or hey, let's definitely keep an eye on this guy for down the line, or you know what, we're taking him totally off the board and we don't want anything to do with him in the future going down the line.
And that goes to what I was saying earlier when Ryan first posed the question, was right now the Steelers need to be in the mode of long-term building and not short-term building.
Yeah.
And sometimes with long-term building, you make a move that maybe the John Q public doesn't agree with. Remember in the late 80s, the Penguins, early 90s, made a huge trade. Everybody hated it, and then they went on and won 2 Stanley Cups. So you got to trust your GM in these situations and hope that he can make the right deals and find the right players at the right time, even if that time seems a little out of time.
All right, let's get back on the board here, guys. Ginger Joe, I really think it doesn't matter which or what QB they put on the field. They need to draft one in the next few years to get anywhere. Mark Malone says, we're going to have to draft several to find one. At Yinzer Joe, might as well start now. Ain't that the truth? You always think, you get all excited about the one. Like Russell Wilson last year. Everybody was all excited. We got a guy, he won a Super Bowl. We're going to do great things. And the guy, I mean, you've seen what happened. Yeah. Yender Joe says, Mark, I don't think any quarterback in this draft is worth it. Maybe next year. I agree, but you know what? I wouldn't put it past the Steelers getting a later round guy this year. I have a feeling, guys. I just see them getting somebody later, which kind of goes against what they need. But anyway, Mark Malone, that's like me playing the lottery. I don't buy a ticket until the jackpot's a few $100 million. Also, Yinzer Joe says, I believe that the veteran free agency will be the key to the development of the new Steelers draft players. That's only because the developmental coaches can bring them to where they need to be. Also, guys, Mark Malone says, we need DBs and free agency. Seriously, Tallman will take the youngsters. So, guys, we got this is where it gets fun. You know, this is where it gets fun. This is where it gets exciting. Of course, everybody loves to see them on the field. But again, guys, a lot of things are going to be happening over the next couple months that's going to mold the way that this team looks moving forward, guys. So certainly a lot of fun things coming up here. Again, the combine through this weekend. Today, the DBs, tight ends, if you want to see what these guys are up to, what kind of 40s they're running, and all the other kind of exercises and events and things that they do, workouts, I guess you would say, at the combine. It does go the whole way through the weekend.
I love when they do the agility drills and they fall down and I can sit there and laugh at them. I could do that.
No, you can't.
I could fall down.
You could fall down.
Oh yeah, you fall down with the best of them. I know that.
Dude, I'm sitting there watching these D linemen do these agility drills, and it's amazing to see how far these guys have come on the defensive side of the ball from like the 80s when we started watching football. How fast these guys are, how smooth they are. It's insane. It's
Remember the big, huge shoulder pads back in the day? Like, yeah. I was watching something the other day. They were showing when Ronnie Lott, I mean, just the 80s.
Yeah.
And I just thought, man, look at the size of the pads on these guys. Yeah. How do you move? Let me see. Also, guys, just one other thing I do want to say about the Steelers. Anybody see this? And I found this interesting because I don't disagree. Dan Marino talking about the 83 draft. He comes out and says, I probably would have won a couple of Super Bowls if the Pittsburgh Steelers would have drafted me. You know what? I tend to agree.
I think
the 80s may have been a little bit different.
I think so.
The 80s may.
Yeah, because he played into the 90s, right?
Yeah, I think 99 or 2000 was his last season.
Yeah.
He held all the records until Brett Favre started breaking them in the mid 90s. And I mean, for not being on a team that could win a Super Bowl, he had all the records at that point.
Yeah, I think he's right. So, I'm not a big Marino fan, but
that would have given.
Can't argue with it.
And I think it's safe to say, Mike, that if he wasn't a Dolphin, you wouldn't have as many Dolphin fans anymore. Right? So many Dolphin fans in Western PA when I was growing up, and it was because
it's just nuts. He fell down because alleged cocaine use. Like that was like the biggest drug in the 80s in the NFL. Dudes were coking up before games. I would have drafted him number 1 overall, and I would have signed him. I would have made sure I had a coke dealer there all around. Allegedly, the Steelers could have brought over Willie Stargell. Allegedly.
You would have figured with all the coke that was done in the 80s, some of the sport, that we'd had some bigger, more memorable sports stories from the 80s. Unfortunately, there's not many out there. You have a couple stories, but guys, we do have to move forward here. Just a couple of things, Mike, before we do start to wrap things up. The Pittsburgh Riverhounds, they will be back in action at the Lexington SC team today at 6:00 p.m. in preseason. The Hounds back at it over in Lexington. Also, I mentioned a little bit yesterday, guys, if you are from Western PA, more specifically right here in Beaver County, you can check out the Aliquippa boys, Aliquippa girls, and the Blackhawk girls in the high school WPIAL championship games tomorrow. They run all through the day on Saturday down at the Peterson Event Center on Pitt campus. Guys, it'll be the Quip girls first thing in the morning. I think they played 11. Aliquippa boys at 1 o'clock, and then the Blackhawk girls play at 3. You could catch that all day tomorrow as these teams try to bring home the WPIAL gold and then on to the state playoffs. So good luck to all those teams. Hope they get it and hope you bring home the gold. Mike, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about the website?
Dumyinzers.com. Check it out, everyone. It's over there. We got all links to our social media. We're going to follow Ryan and I. We got the merch store over there. We got the blog over there. Remember, the new blog is up, or the new mock draft for the week's up. Take a look.
All right, let me just bust through these 2 messages here real quick, and then we'll get into this. Yinzers says, do you believe in the developmental coaches in Tom? Do you guys believe in the developmental coaches in Tomlin? Or do you feel like I do with free agency? I think vets take youngsters under their wing and make them better. Coaching has been lacking, in my opinion. It varies. It varies. It all depends. Corey says Favre only broke those because he played so much longer and broke a lot of them in the last 3 years of his career. It took him
I'm
forever.
looking at those numbers right now. I just want to say something real quick. Favre did play 60 more games than Marino, and here's 60 more. And here's a completely unnecessary stat that just made me laugh real quick. Rush yards career. Favre has 1,844 rushing yards. Not bad, Brett. Dan Marino has 87.
I was going to say it was under 100.
I'm kind of surprised it was a positive number.
I know, right?
He wasn't a scrambler.
No, he was definitely not. Definitely not. But he didn't take a lot of sacks.
He was at a
either.
point in his
Did
career.
Not take a lot of sacks.
He didn't.
That release.
He was at a point in his career, Finch, late. It looked like he had pillows around his knees. Do you remember that?
The biggest knee pads you ever seen this side of a porn film.
Yes, and he had that, and then he started getting that Mahomes ass at the end of his career too. He was kind of getting a little heavy in the back end. But Mark Malone, he says he would have to beat me out. Guys, let's hop to the trivia of the day. Of course, this guy's. There's nobody that wears number 700 on their jersey, but there's been ample players that wore the number 7 on their jersey. Of course, today is the 700th episode of the Two Dum Yinzers. So today, guys, is going to be a trivia question that has to do with the number 7. So take a moment, guys. Put on your thinking caps. Mike, Finch, everybody on the board, everybody at home. Here comes a number 7 kind of trivia question. Mike, no clicking, no hands, no eye movements.
I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through the draft board.
This is the new rules. On any kind of trivia, you put both of your hands have to be visible at all times. No clicking, no looking here, looking there. All right, here we go. All right, Ben, of course, wore number 7, but there were currently 2 number 7s between our 3 pro teams, the Pirates, the Steelers, and the Penguins. Can you name any of them? There's 2 of them, 2 number 7s currently on our 3 pro teams. If you can name either one of them, you'll get this correct. Look, Mike don't know. Look, he can't. His hands ain't moving. He's like, I don't know this shit. Again, Big Ben, big number 7, of course. Everybody knows this guy. But right now, between the 3 Pittsburgh pro sports teams, we have 2 number 7s. Can you name either one of them? Take a minute to think that over. We're live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every day right here on YouTube. The dummy's asking the dummy over
The dummies don't know. I mean, look at him. He's back there slack-jawed, like a mouth breather.
Question again.
Oh, that's what he sounds like.
Can you name any of the number 7s currently on any Pittsburgh sports team? The guys look stumped.
No idea.
I cannot even make a guess.
All right. in our Pittsburgh sports team, guys, right now there's 2 number 7s.
Oh, Finch is
Of course, we
allowed
know
to
it isn't
have his
Ben.
eyes wander and click, but I can't.
Yes.
Fair
yes,
enough.
because you've been busted multiple
I have
times.
never looked anything up. I'm usually scrolling Twitter to find something interesting.
There's questions, and I think there's no way to even know the answer. There isn't. I dig to the bottom of the earth to find it, and you're like, oh, that's so and so, and I'm like, no more hands for Mike. You're too handsy. You're the Joey Porter Jr. of the show.
Hey, man, it works. It worked so long. I didn't get called for it, so I just kept doing it.
He
That's
cheats.
right, and over and over
Uh-huh.
and over and over and over.
What was that last one?
And over and over and over, over and over and over.
That's how
and
much you
over
cheat.
And over and over. Listen,
I'm gonna
it is.
come.
All right, guys, here we go. Ben, the big number 7, obviously, but right now there's currently 2 number 7s that play for the 3 Pittsburgh professional sports teams. Guys, all I need is just one of these 2 names, and you get it correct. Mike, I'm going to start with you. You said you don't know, correct?
No idea whatsoever.
All right, I'm going to lock you in on that. Do you only want to take a guess?
Hell no.
All right. Finch, over
I
to
can't
you.
even think
There's
of
currently-
any player that ever wore number 7 in Pittsburgh other than Ben off the top of my head, except for I think Mark Eaton once wore number 7.
Joey, was it
He did wear number 7.
Mullen?
I can't think of.
Joe Mullen also wore number 7.
Forgot
Guys
about
are-
that guy.
That was going to be my
no
answer.
idea.
By the way, was Joey Mullen.
Mark Eaton.
Joey Mullen's still playing. And Mark Eaton. All right, guys. So the question of the day is number 7, because today is the 700th episode. Give me either 2 of the 2 number 7s remaining right now that play in any Pittsburgh professional team. Both of the guys, neither of them know. No guesses either on the board,
no
guys. So this
clue,
must have been a
man.
tough one. There are 2. One of them, Mike, is Vincent Desjardins, the defenseman for the Penguins. He is number 7. In the other one, guys, IKF, Isaiah Kiner Falefa, the starting shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Guys, they are the current number 7s in Pittsburgh. You're right, Joe Mullen, I'm thinking,
Yep.
guys. Mark Eaton was 7. Pete Gonzalez, quarterback out of Pitt for a period of time in the late 90s,
Oh,
early 2000s.
yeah.
He was a number
I
7.
do remember that guy.
Pete?
Pistol Pete.
That's about all I could think of,
Yeah.
though. I mean, everybody else is
Yeah, I can't think of anyone else either.
so there
Good
you go.
trivia. Good trivia.
That was a tough one. Guys, again, Combine Week. Don't forget, check it out. Starts today at 3:00, goes all the way up to 9:00. You're going to check out the DBs and tight ends. It goes tomorrow at 1 to 9. Your quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and it wraps up on Sunday at 5:00 after the offensive lineman workout 1 to 5 Sunday. You can see that. Also, Mike, the Penguins, all through the weekend, they have Saturday and Sunday games against the Bruins and the Maple Leafs down at the PPG Arena. Get down and support the team. It's Mike, not too much season left for the Penguins. Only down to about 20 games or so, give or take. The Hounds back at it today. Check out the Pittsburgh Riverhounds on the road this time, playing the Lexington SC team. The basketball, a lot of Whitfield teams going at it this weekend down at the Peak. Going to be a lot of fun. Bringing home some gold to the county, hopefully. Finch, anything before we do? Yes, let me get into that. There will be no 2 cranky jagoffs tonight. However, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I know that Tim is
He's
on
out of
vacation.
town.
Vacation?
Nah, he's I guess
He's
he
out of
bought a
town.
vehicle in Virginia and he's going to pick it up
Oh,
today.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
He was going to get
So
something.
he's got to do that, for his family and stuff. So he's got that going on. So I've made myself unavailable tonight. However, hopefully this weekend we can get together, possibly Sunday, like we did a couple weeks ago. And if not, we will definitely be back next week.
All right, guys. So do keep your eye open because they very well could be on Sunday night, and if not, we'll keep an eye out for them next week. So 2 cranky jagoffs will not be on tonight at 9:30. I always make a special effort to make sure that I have it ready and playing at 9:30 p.m. on Sunday or Friday
Last
nights.
week's episode
I
was the
enjoyed.
most fun one we've had so far. We did the uniform things.
That was a really good
I
one.
am still angry because somehow the 70s Pirates uniforms did not make the top 100 of all time. The pillbox hats,
Come
the
on.
Stargell stars, it's a freaking travesty.
Easily the best uniforms
I
ever,
wouldn't say
right?
ever. There are
Easily.
some really great uniforms, but in terms of Pittsburgh sports, it might be my favorite. And somehow off the list.
I agree. Those are some pretty
I'm
great
angry.
uniforms. And you guys was talking about Tim. I think Tim liked the old Houston.
He's a big Houston
with
guy.
The array of
They were
colors.
very good. The
array of
Astros,
colors
yeah,
at the bottom.
very good.
And I was telling Mike back when I
Everywhere.
played Little League, every team
Everybody had them.
had that. Every team, yes. Let's see. Over enthusiastic mod. Caleb says I edit my Jim Palmer poster, so he's wearing number 7. I like that.
Jim Palmer going strong.
Also, guys, the death poll. We're still chomping at the bit to see who's the third one to get the kick the bucket this week. I guess if you could say, of course, Gene Hackman yesterday, and then also the chick
Michelle
that played in Eurotrip, who I
yeah,
did
bummer.
like.
I like her.
Yes, man, I didn't realize I didn't realize I liked her as much as I do. I remember she was hot back then in the Eurotrip, but man, what a terrible story, unfortunately. But we do get to do something positive. We pick people that we thought are going to be dead next, and we bet money on it. That's right, for $50. My pick for the death poll, guys, I think that Pope Francis will be the next to kick the bucket. Mike, you chose who?
Kathy Bates. I went off the board.
Kathy Bates was an interesting pick.
It was a reach in round 1, but I think it's going to pay dividends.
And Finch, you had a pick also.
Yeah, I went ahead. I actually waffled a little bit. I had 2 choices in mind, but ultimately I went with Clint Eastwood, who's like 119 years old.
Yes, which is a good pick.
But I was actually thinking, and this is in not in good taste, but just plain reality. I was going to say Elon Musk, because people are really upset with him right now. And then I turned on the news this morning and saw that they caught some woman outside of a Tesla factory trying to. She had like explosives and shit. Did you see that? And I thought, God dang it, if she would have got him, would have been a winner. You know what I mean?
Close,
I had the right idea. You know, once again, we're not trying to be political here. I'm just going with the reality of the situation. People don't like him right now, and you know that. So
you're so close, Finch.
So close, but it didn't happen. Fortunately, nobody got to the guy. So I'm going to stick with Clint Eastwood on this one, and yeah.
So we all still have our fingers crossed. We're all still in the race. We're all still
that Pope pick is a good one. He's not doing well right now.
Yeah. No, he's not. He has the pneumonia, all that stuff.
He's a dual threat.
$50 up on each name, so that means you could earn up to $100 if your person does kick the bucket next. We're all.
That's assuming Mike actually gets off of his wallet and opens it.
Oh wow! Wow! Shots fired.
We get the spackle his ass cracker. Hey. Speaking of Derpy, I did talk to him. Derpy. He wants to come back as early as next week. He wants to come back on Tuesday. He said he's going to try. Yeah. Of course, we know that he's under the weather as well, not doing too great. But he did say as of last night he'd like to try to come back on Tuesday, which we hope he does. But I hope that he gets better first.
That's more important. So. Derpy. Get better first, then you can come back, and then I won't feel bad if I make fun of you if you're 100% healthy. You know, I need to poke the little guy. That didn't sound right.
No, that didn't sound right at all. That might have been the worst thing you've ever said on this show, bro. That was absolutely terrible.
And you're clipping it, aren't you?
Speaking of poking people, you know what I really miss, guys? You know what people don't do anymore? What people just don't do that was a big thing in our era? Well, 2 things actually. People don't moon people the way that we did when we were kids. Mooning was pretty important as a kid. And what was the other one? Prank phone calling
the
people.
Prank calls.
People don't.
No one answers their phone anymore.
Caller ID wasn't really a thing back then, so you could get away.
Caller ID really screwed us, because those were 2 big things. I remember. You know what? I'm going to get into the stories next week because there's actually a few that are really crazy. We'll get into some of those, but the people just don't do that anymore. People don't moon people anymore. I find this a bit disturbing. I found the mooning of friends and random people in my childhood to be one of my funner experiences as a child. Just not done enough anymore, Finn.
Yeah, the mooning thing, I guess, is for the better, though. You know, I saw a lot more unattractive asses growing up than I did attractive. It was never the cute girl. It was never the
Right.
high school quarterback who was in good shape. It was never the beautiful
Right.
people. It was always it was
was
us.
us.
Yeah, it was the fat toads. It was those
Yeah.
of us whose asses looked better than our faces. And it was still
Yes.
terrible. So yeah, I guess I'm okay with the mooning not being a thing. Prank calls, however, fun times. I mean, The Simpsons had a huge bit with the prank calls for years and years and years. If you grew up in our time, you definitely have called someone and asked for Seymour Butts or somebody like that to kind of go back to the mooning thing. That was a thing that that was a thing back then that will probably never come back. And once again, the caller ID definitely is an issue with that, but also people just don't pick up the phone anymore.
No,
I could tell someone, I could say,
don't.
hey, I'm going to call you at 5 p.m. Be ready for it. And they'll say, okay, yeah, I want it to. And then you call them and then they don't pick up the phone. And then they just
will
text
never
you back
answer.
immediately. Hey, bro, what's up?
Yeah.
It's like,
That's me. That's me to the
texting is convenient. And for certain things, it's great. But other times, it's, you can get the point across much better through talking and faster and more efficiently.
Yep.
So, but yeah.
One more thing, guys, from my, that kind of came to pass over the years from my high school. I don't know about yours, Mike. I do know about yours, Finch, but it's not the same case. When I was in high school, it wasn't nothing to see the girl that dressed up as an Indian because we were the Indians and dress up like an Indian with a big feather sticking out the back of her head, going ho 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 the whole way around the pep rally, the basketball game, the football game. The teams that are the Indians now, do they still act in this manner with the way that people are and the way that people, with cancel cultureness, teams that are the Indians, do they still have fun with it? Or
I know they
no?
they still,
I was
they still
wondering
do the chop in Atlanta.
because this is a white girl. She has a feather sticking out of the back of her head. She's dressed up like an Indian. She's ha 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 with her hands. I think today this would be offensive. I don't know if the kids that go to schools that they're Indians, if they're able to enjoy the things that we're able to enjoy.
I think a lot of schools probably have gone the way of the dodo and got rid of a lot of that. I mean, especially now that some of the pro teams have changed names and gotten rid of some of those things. You mentioned the chop is still a thing. I don't think the chop is quite as bad as some of the visual imagery. I'm not saying Chief Wahoo was very offensive or anything, but we've made it so it's practically impossible to wear blackface in America. I think wearing red face is also not the greatest idea, considering the terrible way that those people were treated by people who look like us, to be honest with you. So it probably has become a thing. I'll give you a small example. Nobody sits Indian style anymore.
They call it crisscross applesauce.
They sit crisscross applesauce, and that's what my daughter says, and that's what they taught her at school. And it doesn't bother me, but at the same time, it's like when I sit that way, I think Indian style. I mean, that's literally how you would see them sit on the ground. So
and I haven't said Indian style in forever. And then one day I saw like, oh, I'm saying crisscross applesauce. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah.
Like, oh, cross-legged. I'm like, oh, okay. But I haven't said like Indian style since like elementary school. So that was like
because we're probably too. Because at about the age of 10 or so, we grew out of sitting Indian style around the time that we got about 200 pounds.
I was about to say, once our knees were shot at age 11, we never sat like that ever again.
If I sit crisscross applesauce right now on this floor, it'll sound more like Snap, Crackle, and Pop.
Yeah.
A different food group altogether. So, that has a lot to do with it. And once again, Native Americans were treated very poorly in this country, and there's a ton of media about it. And we grew up playing cowboys and Indians and shit like that. And it could be offensive. I am not offended, but to others it could be. So I'm not angry about it. I'm not one of these that got super angry when the Redskins changed their name or the Indians changed their name, because ultimately those teams don't belong to me. It's not my decision to make. So, you know what? Good. Yeah. Good for whoever wants to believe and say what they want to say. But in the end, we should try to phase out any sort of negative connotations towards our Native American brethren.
Again, a lot of these things, though, I mean, they get great attention. The Redskins made a lot of money over the years. I mean, there were a lot of, it wasn't all negative, but
making money off of negative stereotypes, though, is not a great thing. However, you could also argue that opens a whole new argument, right? It's true. I mean, you could say Chris Rock made millions and millions of dollars off of the N-word. So, I mean, the argument goes both ways.
Cat Williams
and guys like that. Dave Chappelle, probably more than anybody.
So you do have to cover those guys when you're talking about everything as well, because that's
why it's good to have a conversation about these things and not to just say F off
Start
and
yelling
yell at
it.
everybody because you either
Right.
are hardcore this way or hardcore the other way.
Look, Mike's like, F this, I'm jumping in.
Like,
and
can
kissing
I
him
yell "fuck you" to both of you? Oh,
Yeah.
Wouldn't be
damn!
the
All right,
first time.
so
I know, right?
Jen says he used to moon cars as we were driving home from away softball games, a car for athletic girls having their asses out the car window. Yeah, I like that idea.
That's what Ryan wants not to
I would
follow him
also
around
threaten.
every time he leaves the house.
I would.
You ever see a movie? You
I
ever
would
see a
love-
movie with Norm Macdonald called Dirty Work?
Yeah.
There's a scene in that.
I've heard
There's
of
a
it, I've
scene.
never
It's
seen
him
it.
and Artie Lang, and they're driving. He goes,
Yes, yes.
hey, yeah, do the thing. So they come up. There's a movie line. There's a bunch of people standing outside a line for a
Yes.
movie, and Artie Lang whips his big fat disgusting ass out the window, and then Norm just
Love
stops,
Artie.
parks a car, and gets out of the car and runs away.
Jen says I would threaten they would have to clean my window if they left asshole prints. I like that. Asshole prints.
Oh, that would taint your
Nice.
car.
Oh, gee.
Oh,
That Oscar Wilde S
Finch.
wordplay.
anything before we get ready to wrap up for the weekend, Finch?
Congratulations on 700, man. That's a lot. Like I said
thanks,
earlier,
man.
I don't think I've done 700 of anything except for maybe one thing my whole life.
Yeah.
So congratulations. That's a really cool achievement. I hope I'm proud and honored to be a part of number 700. Hopefully I'm here for 800, 900, and 1,000.
Hell yeah,
Hopefully,
man.
hopefully you are too, and we appreciate all them words.
Mhm.
Thank you, sir. Mike, about you, man. Anything before we get ready to take off for the
Oh no,
weekend?
thanks for everyone for tuning in. Ryan, 700. How the fuck we did it, I don't know, but hell yeah. Let's
I don't
keep it
know.
rolling,
Again,
bro. Let's keep it rolling.
We thought after
11,
11,
we
after
were
11,
done.
we were done, but we were wrong.
Good choice, guys.
So everybody,
we're not wrong a
I
lot.
thank you. Oh,
Well,
you
you
are. I do want to say thank you to everybody for coming and hanging out
Yes.
today. We appreciate each and every one of you. We truly, honestly do. We wouldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. I also want to say thank you to everybody on the board. You guys always keep things interesting here on the show, and everybody at home as well. Thank you so much, very kindly. Again, thank you for joining episode
Yes.
700. Mike, Finch, anything else? Speak now or forever hold your
See
peace.
y'all Monday.
Yes, we'll be back. Episode 701. Again, hopefully we get some derpy
Yes.
next week. He seems to be improving. Boom! He seems to be improving, but again, still under the weather. A lot of things going on with him. So I'd
Flu's
like to
going
see.
around,
Hopefully,
my
see him
friends.
back next
Unfortunately,
week.
it's going around.
And our thoughts are with him. And
Yes.
hopefully, he can get back again. Finch, him, and Tim. Possibly Sunday. Tim is out of town. Maybe Sunday they'll be able to do the 2 cranky jag-offs on Sunday night. Usually every Friday night at 9:30. You do want to keep a close eye because these guys are good. Last week they did the top 100 uniforms in sports. I thought it was a great episode. You have your own opinion. You think some of these uniforms are just
Some of them
ugly.
were.
Some of them were. So these guys are certainly worth checking out. Go over, check them, subscribe, like everything, comment throughout the show. They love all that stuff. Go check out the 2 cranky jag-offs. Hopefully, again, we see these guys Sunday night. If not, they'll be back next weekend for sure. I do believe that's it for everything today, guys. Don't forget to check out the Combine. It goes through the rest of the weekend. Starts at 3 o'clock today, all the way through 5 o'clock on Sunday. You can see that. And also the Penguins are in action all weekend long. The Hounds today. High school basketball tomorrow. Mike, there's mad sports going on. We'll be back first thing Monday morning to talk about all that, get you updated on all the Pittsburgh Steelers scoop going on, and much, much more. For Mike in the Steelers Central Mobile Studio, for myself, Finch, we thank you so much. We hope